Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Domesticated Dude podcast. I'm Logan, your host on this journey. Have you ever noticed that in everybody's group of friends, there's always that one guy who seems to have their shit together a little bit more than everybody else? In my group of friends, that was Josh. And Josh is our guest today. He joins us. He's going to talk about how he's become a master in the kitchen. We're going to talk about his process of buying a house in Anchorage, Alaska, where the housing market isn't as friendly as some other places. We're also going to talk about why it's important to have a positive outlook on life. If you like what you hear, share us with a friend, follow us on Spotify, give us a review on Apple. You know the drill. Without further ado, here's my conversation with my friend Josh. Hope you enjoy. Hey Josh, man, it's good to see you. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing okay, hanging in there. I got my whiskey and I'm ready to go. What are you drinking on tonight?
So don't tell Nathan. I listened to his episode a while back. I am actually drinking a nice cold Coors Light. Not the microbrew goodness, but it'll do.
Silver Bullet, man. It's all
Mm-hmm.
good. So is
Yep.
that kind of your go-to? Coors Light your go-to or
Kind of depends. Like when it's kind of in the summer up here. I know it doesn't get like Nebraska hot, but just nice to have something real light, kind of refreshing, just easy drinking. Just not super heavy. IPAs don't settle quite like they used to, so it's like to change it up a little bit.
I know exactly what you mean about those IPAs, man. I find myself drinking heavy beer, but I can only drink a couple. Anymore, I'd rather have a Busch Light, especially if I know that I'm going to be drinking more than one beer. It's got to be
Hmm.
Busch Light or Coors Light.
Yeah, it's like I don't really not like the old days. I don't really drink to get drunk anymore. I just enjoy having a beer, sipping on it, and relaxing, or just have one while I'm going around. I'm doing whatever I'm doing in the summer, like working in the backyard, on the grill, just in the kitchen, just kind of a just relaxing, cathartic thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of kitchen, I've been reading your Instagram, watching your Instagram lately. The only pictures you ever post on your Instagram feed are of food. Is that
Yeah,
something? How did you get started into making all this delicious food?
I've always been into cooking. Like even when I was a kid, I don't know, for was just always kind of intrigued by it. My parents always cooked, ate at home a lot. Didn't really. I don't remember eating out a lot like when I was growing up. So I just kind of started in there doing simple stuff. But and actually like up at the kind of toward the end of high school, I took a culinary arts class at King Career Center. It's like a sort of like a tech high school like elective classes you could take up here in Anchorage, and I did culinary arts. I was just interested by it, and it was actually a super fun class. I learned a lot and really excelled. So really, for a couple years there, I was seriously considering going to culinary school.
Oh, I
I
didn't know that.
obviously didn't end up doing that. It's kind of ended up meeting you kind of as I took a different path. But that was the way it was looking there for a while. And I just have a lot of fun in the kitchen. Things usually turn out pretty well. I don't have a lot of I don't end up cooking a lot of food that I'm just like, oh, that was kind of disgusting. So I just kind of kept going with it and improving. And then Instagram came along, and I was like, this is where my food belongs. I sit there taking pictures until it's cold, but for the gram, it's worth
put
it.
put it back in the oven, warm it back up before you're ready to eat it.
Yeah, usually by then I'm too hungry. I just go at it cold. It's probably really good warm.
Probably. Where do you get your recipes from? Is that stuff that like are they family recipes? Do you just have a go-to recipe site that you visit or what?
It's kind of depends just what I'm feeling like. Really, kind of during college and everything. Was just busy, wasn't at home a lot, and so I really didn't cook a lot. But after college, I started really trying to cook a lot healthier, a lot more healthy food. Just gained a little bit of weight there. We're doing the little too much drinking, a little too much fast food, probably not enough exercise, definitely not enough exercise. So I found this app and this YouTube channel. Really, it's called Fit Men Cook, which is just dedicated to healthy recipes, healthy, clean foods, and so far it hasn't let me down. Everything I've cooked out of there has been a winner, and that's really how I got back into cooking after college and cooking a lot. And nowadays it's, I hit that one up a little bit. I go New York Times Cooking, their app, their recipe collection is amazing. That everything in there is delicious from what I can tell, and I've cooked out of it quite a bit. I've got a Traeger, so get out there and grill and smoke some meat and everything. Traeger app, Traeger website's a great resource. And really, if you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for, Pinterest is a great resource as well. I've gotten a lot of recipes on there, and some of that's been, I haven't had anything like super specific in mind. I just kind of was like, I wonder if anybody's done this before, and inevitably somebody always has. So just kind of get like a base recipe off there, maybe make it once, and then start making some tweaks or start experimenting a little bit.
Yeah, freestyling a little bit, make it your own, kind of do whatever. I'm really bad at following recipes. I'll make something once and Sarah will ask me what I did. I don't know, man. I just threw some stuff together, grabbed some things that maybe weren't supposed to be in there, and just threw it in. That's just what I feel. I don't know. It's just how I want to do it. Do you have times like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of like looking at what I've got in the fridge or in the pantry. Like, don't feel like making a grocery run, or just have have some stuff that I maybe, especially like vegetables and whatnot, that I had like real high aspirations. I was just going to go to town on vegetables that week, and come the end of the week, all those vegetables are still there. I'm like, well, I got to figure out something to do with these. So I do a lot more experimenting with just with different spice mixes, just kind of seeing what works, what doesn't. And I don't write anything down, so most of the time I don't remember. So if I make a mistake, I probably make it multiple times. And also, it doesn't really help that even when I'm following a recipe, unless I'm baking, I almost never measure anything. Like, I just kind of eyeball it. I'm like, yeah, that looks good. And for the most part, it works out really well. Every once in a while, it's like, might not have been my best move there, but it's edible. So
yeah, and that's what really matters. It's edible. It's probably a little bit healthier for you since it's not filled with all the fat from restaurants and whatnot. I'm kind of bummed that you don't write it down though. I've been looking forward to the Josh cookbook. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, it's, you're weirdly not the first person to say that. I actually ran into remember Paula Banquero from the journalism department. Yeah. I ran into her at a UAA alumni thing a while, maybe in the fall, and she was like having a semi-serious conversation with me about how I should write and how I should put together my own cookbook, and kind of written it off a little bit, because mostly I'm just using other people's recipes or kind of riff on them a little bit. But I don't know, every once in a while when the maybe work is a little tough or not feeling real motivated, I'm like, maybe that's how I make my millions.
Hey man, I'm with you.
I'm going about it the hard way.
Couldn't you if you were to make a cookbook though, couldn't you say, hey, this is the original recipe from wherever and I put my own spin on it? I guess I don't know how all that works, because recipes don't just appear from thin air, right? They have to be borrowed from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's very little out there, like in the food world, that has never been done before. Maybe not that hasn't been done before, but everything that comes up is built off of someone else's recipe or someone else's way of doing things. And, a lot of times I think it's improving the recipe or improving the food. Sometimes it's subject to a little bit of a subjective thing, on your own taste buds. But yeah, I mean, I don't quite know how it all works out either when it comes to like citing other recipes and making your own like official, cookbook that you're, could be making money off of. But I don't know. It's a thought. It's sitting there in the back of my head, and we'll see. Maybe through this all this coronavirus stuff, when I'm at my house a lot more, maybe I'll finally get bored enough or motivated enough to sit down and start typing.
Nice. Well, once that gets done, we'll have you back on. We can pip the crap out of it once you get it done.
Sounds good. You'd be part of my official media book tour.
I'm in.
Or book media tour. There we go.
We can take our podcast on the road. Podcast, cookbook, promotion, road trip. Oh man, I don't think we would survive.
No, I mean, if you look at that trip we took to Denver a couple years ago, went to a quote unquote music festival, came home, ate dinner, came back to the hotel room, and were asleep watching hockey by like 8:30.
Oh my God. I felt like such an old man on that trip, but it was so much fun. Okay, so we're in Denver. and it's this tacos, what was it? Tacos and beer festival. And they had all these different bands, like the Offspring were gonna play, and some of these other bands from our college days. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go. Well, of course, they put all the good bands like at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. But Josh and I get there, what was it, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's all free beer samples. So we're like, well, yeah, let's just go stand in line and get beer. And of course, it's the heavy beer that we just got done talking about that we don't like to drink that much. Well, this is one of the instances that showed us that we probably shouldn't drink that heavy beer anymore because, as he said, we found a sports bar and ate dinner at like 6 o'clock and then got back to the hotel room and it was probably 8:30 and watched some playoff hockey and fell asleep. It was pretty embarrassing.
I don't know. I'm not that ashamed. At least we were able to get up early and have a nice breakfast.
That's true. And that was a cool place. We got to walk to the breakfast place. That was cool. So, Josh, you said that you cook on the Traeger a lot. Have you had a Traeger for a while? What are some of the favorite things that you've grilled on the Traeger?
Yeah, I've had a Traeger for maybe 3 or 4 years now. It's mostly a summer thing for me. Now I've got like a little covered, I bought a house in November here. So I've got a little covered like deck area out back that it's a little easier to grill out during the winter, but I've cooked so much stuff on there. It's hard to really pick a favorite. Like I did a brisket on there actually last summer, like really low and slow, like probably like a big, like 16, 18 pound brisket, I think. And it got up basically early, middle of the night, more or less to start it and just kept it going all day. We had a big barbecue, a bunch of people over later in the afternoon. And that is probably the single best thing I have ever cooked on that. Definitely on the Traeger, but maybe ever. It was everything I dreamed a brisket could be. And then I've done pulled pork on there several times. I've done smoked ribs, done a lot of steak and chicken and everything on there, like shrimp skewers. I had this Penang curry like salmon that I did on there. Maybe last year. That was an epically good seafood, salmon meal for me. The sauce was great. It was cooked perfectly. It was probably one of the other best things that I've cooked. And then actually last Thanksgiving, do you know what, funny word, but do you know what spatchcock is?
No.
Okay. So you do it with like whole birds. So like a lot of people do it with chicken, but you can do it with a turkey. But more essentially, you cut out the backbone, which on a chicken is super easy. On a turkey, it takes a little muscle, a little elbow grease, and don't use a good knife for it. And anyways, it's kind of a beast. But essentially, it lets you lay the bird out flat, so it cooks more evenly and actually a little bit faster. So I've done it with the chicken before, and over Thanksgiving I did it with a whole turkey. And turkeys are pretty monstrous. It took up I have a smaller Traeger, and it took up the entire thing basically, but it's just spread out all across it. And if you haven't tried it, do you have a Traeger? I feel like you do.
Yeah, we have one that we've had for 6 years probably.
Nice. Yeah. You can try it with a chicken. It cooks an entire chicken in maybe an hour, like at most.
Wow.
Which is pretty great. I mean, I think it's just one of the plus sides of using that particular technique. And I've only done it a few times. I'm by no means an expert at it, but you doing that to the turkey though I'm not really a big fan of turkey, like Thanksgiving turkey, like the roasted ones. It's just, it doesn't have a lot of flavor to me. To me, Thanksgiving's more about the sides, but that turkey is, I keep saying best a lot when it comes to cooking stuff on the Traeger, but like that is the best turkey I've ever had. It's still nice and juicy, or if we want to trigger people, moist. And it got the skin real crispy, and just the flavors were great. Would highly recommend giving it a try if you haven't already. And there's lots of recipes out there either on the Traeger app or I'm sure they're out there on Pinterest, or just searching the internet too.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're cooking things up, when you're thinking about what you want to make, do you have some go-tos? Like, hey, I need to put something together in a pinch. it's a weeknight. I don't have a whole lot of time to mess around. This is what I'm making. Do you have that go-to dish?
Yeah, I've got a few things I can go to that don't take too long. I mean, really, the simplest one that doesn't require a doesn't really need a recipe as long as you know how everything, like the oven temperatures and how everything times out. Is it's like a pan roasted. It's like a roasted bone-in chicken thigh, essentially, is all it is. But it's just real simple, like just salt. And, you want the skin on, bone in chicken thigh, and you put it skin side. I use a cast iron pan
Yep.
for most of my roasting, and just for a lot of things in general. It's just really easy. Um, so you put it on. You kind of saute it in coconut oil or whatever you've got, maybe canola or vegetable, or just it doesn't really matter. Something with a higher smoke point, and have that on the stove. Kind of start getting the skin a little crispy, and then you pop it in the oven at I don't remember the temperature. I haven't made it in a little while. Time hasn't really been an issue lately. I've been in my house a lot, but
Touche.
you throw it in the oven, and then in the oven it's only maybe 15, 18 minutes until that's done. You make up whatever sauce you want, if you want like a quick pan sauce or barbecue sauce or just whatever sounds good, whatever you've got. Maybe saute up or roast a few veggies with it, and you're ready to roll. This winter I've had, just because been stuck at home a lot more with the coronavirus stuff going on, so trying to be safe. And I've been working from home, fortunately, for probably more than 2 months now, and so I have a lot more time during the day, which has sort of changed the way that I cook, or the way that I go about even just like making stuff or planning a menu or something for the weekdays. So on the New York Times app, there's this Thai chicken meatball. It's a soup, I guess, but you serve it over rice, or maybe cauliflower rice if you're trying to go low carb, or whatever sounds good, I guess. Which is super easy, as far as the stuff that I cook, it's pretty simple. There's a couple more, maybe more specialty ingredients, like there's like fish sauce in it and maybe ginger. It's not something that I always have laying around, but it's a real quick trip. It's a real quick trip to the grocery store. Really simple, super delicious, and it's really good in the winter. It's warm, so and kind of hearty, not like a stew hearty, I guess, but just depends how much rice you use. And then and really sort of we've got this tomato soup recipe. Also got it up New York Times, like a Parmesan tomato soup it's incredibly easy to make. It takes maybe like an hour in total, like if you include simmering time and everything like that. So that I think I said it, but it came off the New York Times website, and serve that up with the grilled cheese, and it's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, you can't beat grilled cheese and tomato soup, man. That's tough. Throw some bacon, throw some bacon in there. You're ready.
Oh yeah, and there's a bunch of stuff that's kind of in a more regular rotation, but really, like, I like trying new recipes, and I just kind of search around. It's just something I kind of like a habitual downtime activity. It's like I'm just like sitting around, watching TV or something that I'm not really paying attention. I'm like scrolling through New York Times or Pinterest or Traeger or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that looks good. Maybe I'll try to make that, and it's just like squirrel, and then just like off in a new cooking direction here.
Yeah, that's what I really like about it is the possibilities are literally endless. And I will say that you can score some really good brownie points real quick by knowing either how to cook, how to bake, enjoying cooking. I think that might help you in your relationships a little bit, score some points with your significant other. If you say, "Hey, honey, I'm gonna cook tonight," that usually goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. And we were talking before we started recording here, and I started dating someone around Christmas time, and yeah, I mean it's scored some definite brownie points. I will say it's kind of turned into she's like claims to like not know how to cook, and so it ends up, and I don't mind, and I don't mind at all. But I've cooked, I don't know, I'd say probably like an easy like 90% of the meals that we've eaten, which is fine. I love cooking. I love spending time in the kitchen, and and I like cooking for people too. So it's it all works out, and I have a guinea pig now other than myself to try out new recipes on, and but yeah, it's maybe that was part of why I started getting back into cooking too. It's like what, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get in shape, and I'm going to get some major brownie points with the ladies.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know that it's really worked until this point, but
hey, at least it worked. It just
yeah,
needs to work once,
yeah,
you know?
and if nothing else, I'm eating well. So
Yeah, there you go. And that's one of the things that you mentioned, being able to share your food with other people, knowing that people are getting enjoyment out of what you created for them. That, for me, that's really cool. Being able to make a dish, or if I make cookies or we make a pizza, whatever, being able to share that with Sarah or friends if they're coming over. It's like, hey, yeah, I made that. I made that with my hands, and now you're eating it. Like, that's a cool feeling.
yeah, and that kind of reminds me, we've so like my whole family, like my sister, my dad, we can all cook, and we can all cook really, really well. So maybe like a little over a year ago, we got this idea we decided we were going to start hosting dinner parties, but like we were shooting for like once a month, but that's kind of too much. So it's like, well, not that we operate in quarters, but maybe like once a quarter, like 4 times a year, have some people over, but have it like be a really legit, nice, like everything from scratch meal. So we each invite, a significant other, if there's one around, and then, maybe a couple friends each or something like that. So maybe get like 10, like 8 to 12 people or so in the house, and have them over and just do like a really nice, like themed meal. So the first one we did last year was, it was in the spring, and we did an Italian night. So we kind of divvied up, we kind of divided and conquered there. So I did soup and salad. So I had the soup and the salad. So I had this like white bean and salami, like chunky white bean and salami soup that was super good. I had it as kind of like a soup course, like an appetizer, but it was honestly like it could have just been its own meal. It was really hearty, but really, really good. And then that's when I started learning how to make Caesar salads by hand, like make my own dressing and everything like that.
Oh,
So
cool.
I had a nice Caesar with it as well. Like, I don't know did you ever go to Marx Brothers when you lived in Anchorage?
No.
So I would say like it's arguably has like the best food in Anchorage, and really their Caesar was it's kind of their signature thing. They have Caesar salad making classes, which I took last year, and kind of gave me the grounding, the foundation that I needed to really start making those, and now I've kind of got it down to a science, so can whip it up pretty quickly when I need to. But anyways, back to the Italian night. So my sister made cannolis from hand. If you've ever had one of those, they're
Oh,
delicious.
yeah.
And then what else? Oh, and then she put together like a really nice like charcuterie board, and my dad had the main course. So he like handmade like these, I think it's like a lamb ravioli with, I forget what the sauce was, but it was like everything by hand, everything from scratch, like using like kind of like spending the money and getting really nice ingredients. So like I can eat processed, pre-made, pre-packaged food with the best of them, but it really just doesn't compare to something, made completely from scratch. Like if you have the time, it's the way to go. And then since then we've done a couple things. We've done a couple other dinners. So we did in the summer we did a big barbecue, but like kind of like smokehouse, like southern, like Texas barbecue kind of thing. So that's when I made the brisket. My dad smoked a bunch of ribs. So like we had all these like, I think my sister took care of all the sides. So like it was still kind of like barbecue style, but it was just one of those. It's like we all just took a lot of time, spent time researching the different recipes and finding and tracking down these different ingredients, and which was great. And then the last one we did was in the fall, right after we got back. We usually go to New England usually like once a year or so, maybe once every other year. We did like a New England style feast with that menu's escaping me right now, but like it was just really hearty fall food, like kind of really classic New England stuff. And we had like lobster rolls, and I know I made lobster rolls in like a creamed cod or something like that. Like and it all turns out super well, but it's just really nice, like spending that time in the kitchen with my family, like, and being able to serve my friends and being able to serve my friends just these really top notch, really good food. It's like I don't work in a restaurant, and I don't claim to be a chef by any means, but between the three of us, we can crank out a pretty good multi-course meal.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You're making me hungry, and I don't like that right now. But one thing that you said that really stuck out to me there was you could eat processed food with the best of them, but there's no replacement for making something from scratch. That's what Sarah and I have found going through this whole lifestyle change of how we've changed the way that we've eaten and made our food and what we're putting into our bodies. we're really cutting out as much of that processed food as we possibly can. And
Mm-hmm.
so we'll make, like I mentioned earlier, we'll make pizza, but we'll make pizza crust out of almond flour, or you use either eggs and cheese and cream cheese to make a crust. And it tastes just like you would expect a pizza to taste like, except you're using better ingredients that aren't going to wreak havoc on your body. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that I really appreciate about all this. Plus, being able to spend more time in the kitchen, you're cooking together, you're doing an activity together. And even with you and your lady, like, I'm sure she's around if you're cooking, that's extra time that you guys get to spend. And it's just a cool way to hang out with each other without feeling like you have to be sitting in front of a couch watching TV.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, I think, I don't know, cooking is just one of those things to me. Like I enjoy it so much. Like it's a de-stressor for me. And I really I enjoy good food. And, I don't always make the healthiest stuff. Like, you make a ravioli or something with like a brown butter sauce, which is exactly what you think it is. It's just literally brown, just butter that is browned more or less, that's seasoned. And so, I mean, that's not like the healthiest thing by any means, but it's still really, really nice to know exactly what is in your food. You can exchange like you and Sarah are doing. You're still eating a lot of the same things that you may have been eating before, but you can exchange ingredients to really customize it to meet whatever your dietary restrictions are, or your like life goals or lifestyle goals. You can switch out ingredients, and there's almost always an alternative.
Yeah.
Just because a recipe calls for something, I mean, that might be ultimately, I'll say, maybe like the tastiest way, but it's not always the healthiest way. So if you're looking to eat healthy, there's a lot of healthy alternatives and things you can do, ingredients you can incorporate that ultimately make it a more healthy dish, and it's still going to taste delicious. Like,
Yeah.
And it's not like eating healthy is, I don't know. For me, it's like once I get into it and get used to I get used to eating that style of food again.
It's hard to go back.
It's super easy. Yeah, it's hard to go back, and it's super easy. It's not nearly as hard or time consuming or expensive, or you don't sacrifice as much.
Yeah, I think people get intimidated by eating healthier, and they think that, you're going to have to spend way more time preparing your meals and thinking that through. Well, yeah, you will have to spend some time actually planning out what you want to eat for that week. But the process is still the same. You still have to go to the grocery store. You're just buying different products. And you're still making your food. You're just making different food that's better for you. I was out for 3 or 4 days out in western Nebraska with a good group of guys having a lot of fun, but there weren't a whole lot of fruits and vegetables around. And it was a lot of take and bake pizza. It was a lot of beer. It was a lot of tortilla chips and snacks that you may think of on a guy's trip. My body did not like me for 3 days. I had to go to the grocery store as we were out west, and I had to go out and just buy as much fruit as I possibly could because I just couldn't take it anymore. And that feels really weird saying out loud, especially to you as someone who we used to we'd go out to eat all the time in college. We would drink a lot in college, and seeing us now, like both of us kind of having that healthier mindset, it's kind of cool how we're growing into that and finding out that we can do these things without sacrificing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like my diet and the things that I take in, it is the basically complete polar opposite of what it was in college. Like, I'm with you. My body cannot handle, occasionally I'll just be short on time or something. I'll grab like McDonald's and like I eat it and I'm just like, I honestly, I feel like garbage.
Yeah.
Like and it's like immediate. Like, and even if like my body doesn't quite feel it as bad, like I'm just like sitting there, like eating, like I'm like regretting every bite that I'm taking, like as I am taking it.
I can picture you in my mind just sitting there with the McDonald's burger, just kind of crying a little bit, like sad eating, like, oh, I hate you so much, but I'm going to take another bite. That's how I feel sometimes too. Like I ate some pizza on the trip and I was like, this is not going to be good, but I was able to eat it, and we're playing golf for 3 days, so the body's able to burn that stuff out. But I never thought that I would be in this place. I really didn't. I never thought that I could do this, but it's really not that hard. And I will tell you, if I can figure this shit out, you can figure this shit out.
Absolutely. And it's funny. Sorry, before we completely leave the golf thing. So I've actually been golfing like the course has opened up here maybe like 3 weeks ago or so. But like I've already been out 3 times, and I've actually, for the first time in a long time, like I'm doing my best to walk every round.
Oh, hey.
Like, so walk 18 or walk 9, once or twice a week if possible. And then, but like while I'm out there though, just in terms of the food choices, and kind of, I'll bring it back to our normal, our topic of conversation here is, like, cause I worked at the golf course at one of the courses up here for like 6 years. And, I basically like lived off of like hot dogs and soda for those entire summers. And, they'll always have a special place in my heart, probably blocking an artery or something. But like but now, like when I go out, it's like I'm actually like thinking it through before I'm going out there. It's like, okay, I need some snacks, like, and like I'm like, what can I bring out there? Like, because I don't really want to buy food out. Like, I don't really feel like eating chips or hot dogs or whatever they've got there. So like I've got like a Ziploc bag full of like almonds or peanuts or like that kind of thing that I've got laying around. I'm not drinking soda. Like I don't really buy a lot of alcohol on the golf course anymore. Like I've got a Nalgene bottle just full of water that I've got tucked away in my bag that I'm carrying with me and drinking as I'm walking. I mean, and by the end of it, you've walked like, at least that course, you're walking like 7-8 miles.
Yeah.
And hitting and stuff, and you're outside, and a lot of times it's a little warmer, so you're kind of sweating. And so I mean, really by the end of it, like I'm not real gassed, like I feel good. But anyways, it's just kind of like a funny, like kind of like just an interesting like decision making process, and how that's changed even out on the golf course, and those food and drink decisions that I'm making out there, like how things have changed just at home have changed my decisions out on the course, and just out to eat, or anywhere else in general, really.
Yeah, it changes a lot. We have this bar that we go to here in Seward. It's called Rue 6, and it's really cool. It's on a second level right downtown Seward. It overlooks the square. It's a really neat spot. They have a great drink selection. They have great food. But the problem is a lot of their food I can't really eat anymore. So I have to focus on maybe 2 or 3 different things that they make that I can actually eat. And since Sarah doesn't drink a whole lot, she'll drink some wine, but it limits your choices, when you go out. So you kind of have to have that in the back of your mind. Like, hey, I'm not just going to go nuts here. I have to be selective of what I'm going to be putting in my body, and knowing that there could be some repercussions there if there's something in there that your body doesn't agree with. And what's crazy to me is when I look back now at what I was putting in my body, and Sarah and I talk about this all the time, we used to think that eating some of our foods were like healthier because we thought they were healthier, but in reality, they're really not. Like you take a look at some pot, and it all depends on your body type and your lifestyle and all of this. But for us, eating pasta right now would pretty much be terrible for us. And we look back now and it's like, well, we used to think, eating some of this was okay. I mean, for then, yeah, sure. But now we're trying to be a lot better. So we'll eat like spaghetti squash for our pasta substitute. That's really easy to make. You pop it in the oven for maybe 40 minutes. You come out, you scoop it out. There's your spaghetti, and it's all vegetables. It's just easy things like that can really change things around without really trying too hard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The initial change in your diet, it's just it's hard, I think, more from like a process perspective. Like, you just have to go about, just kind of like change your mindset on like what you're eating. Like you said earlier, like what you're getting at the grocery store, like the recipes that you're making, or as opposed to maybe going out to eat or buying something that's kind of like prepackaged or pre-made that, might not be the best for you. Like once you get past that initial, like, I don't know, like the diet shock, culture shock, whatever it is, like it's a really, at least for me, like it's a really easy thing to keep going with. And
Yeah.
I feel so much better when I do though, just physically. And I don't think it's like a placebo thing. Like just, I think I like my body just legitimately feels better in
Yeah.
my head and like brain and like I'm just functioning better.
I can speak to that. While I was on that golf trip, we played. I played a lot of golf, and I don't really play that much golf during the year. I'll go out maybe 5 or 6 times a year, maybe. But
Hmm.
we played. I played like 4 or 5 rounds of 18 on this golf trip over 3 or 4 days, and each time we played it, we played 18 holes. Yeah, we had a cart, but I felt really good afterwards. Like it went fast. And usually when I play golf, by the time 18 holes are over, I'm ready to just sit down and be somewhere not on the golf course. But this year, I think it's cuz I lost 40 pounds. I was ready to go again. Like, hey, let's mount up, let's keep going. And that kind of flipped the switch for me while I was out there too. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And like, it's same for me. I mean, I've been walking and no big golf trips, but so, this year, but yeah, it's like I just went out, walked, played around in maybe like 4 hours and walked, and it was really like at no point was I really like out of breath. Like I felt good at the end of it. Like I just walked more than I have in some time, and but like I got to the end of it, like it felt great. Went and played on Saturday this past weekend, and about a week ago, and came back. I ended up walking, at least according to my phone, like about 8.5 miles, I think.
Dang.
And I came back and went on like a half hour, 40-minute bike ride. So
Nice.
it's, I mean, not like a real like intense one, but still, it's like plenty of gas left in the tank. Like, and I can say pretty definitively, like 7, 8 years ago, like maybe just not too long out of college, like that was not the case.
Yeah.
uh, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have even made the decision to walk, to be completely honest with you.
Right.
I,
We would have been like, what's the quickest way to do this? Oh, ride a cart? Okay, let's do that.
yeah, no, exactly. It's like, what can we carry more beer in?
Yes.
Where is it
Well,
easier to eat snacks?
yes. Sometimes I still think about the easiest way to drink beer, but that's okay. You can do that sometimes. It's the 80-20 rule. As long as you're good 80% of the time, the other 20% just kind of writes itself off somewhere.
Yeah, I like it.
Josh, we've been talking about your prowess in the kitchen a little bit here. Did things change for you after you got into your house?
Yes. I mean, there's a few additional factors in there. Like, I was cooking a lot before, when I was in my old apartment with my roommate and everything like that. But it was, I mean, it's definitely gotten easier. I mean, yes, like everything in the kitchen now, it's mine. If I need it, if it's a tool that I need or ingredient that I need, I go buy it. I don't need to worry about, somebody else screwing it up or losing it or, eating my eating my food, which not that it was like a huge issue before, but it did happen sometimes. All the refrigerator space is mine. It's great. But then also like we got into having I mean, one probably like getting into a relationship not long after. Like, so I did a lot of cooking there anyways, and then as I mentioned before, just with the coronavirus and COVID stuff, we were pretty much stuck in the house. Like all the restaurants were closed. You could do takeout at some of them. So really, like I went through since I moved in, like especially over the last few months, I've cooked. There's probably only like 2 or 3 days that come to mind, like where I didn't cook anything, like or that my
Wow.
kitchen was not used to cook something, and that's I mean, and to me, like that's incredible, and it's really like changed. It's really been a great like habit changer kind of thing too, because like before, like I love to go out to eat, and it was more of a social thing. It's always easier to not have to cook yourself, but I like cooking, so it's really not a big deal. But now it's like, even though at least up here, like kind of the main COVID scare stuff is, it's still there a little bit, but like things are opening back up. The state's easing all their restrictions and everything. Like, so we can go out, like we can go eat up, eat somewhere, go to a restaurant. But like we've had multiple times just in the last couple of weeks, like since we've been able to do that, that we're like, yeah, we should go do that. We'll go to this restaurant, we'll get that, and then it's like comes down to it, it's like you just want to stay here, and like you just want to like
Yep.
cook something and eat here. We're like, yeah, that sounds better. So like, and now it's like, eating out is just more. It's just not even something that I or we even feel like doing that much anymore. So, I mean, the kitchen gets a ton of use, and I was able to, that was a big factor. And I think I mentioned that we were talking about that I bought this place here right around a little before Thanksgiving, but like the kitchen was a big factor in what I, in when I was searching for a house. And it's got nice appliances, new appliances. It's got a good cooktop, which is a good stove, which was something I really didn't have in my old spot. My old apartment, it was like one of those like an older coil stove, electric
yep.
one.
I remember
And
those.
only two of them worked. And and even those two, it was like you had to have it you had to have the little the coil adjusted like just right, or else like it wouldn't heat up. It was a disaster. I've got like everything I need. Like this is an important, like the kitchen is an important part of the house to me. So like it's not the biggest one, but it's not the biggest kitchen, but like the appliances are nice. It's got a lot of for the size, it's got a lot of counter space. It's in good shape. It's a place that I enjoy spending time. So that's why it ended up being a big priority for me when I was looking for and buying a house.
Yeah, they say that the kitchen is the heart of your house because that's where everybody gathers. That's where a lot of the conversations take place. That was something that was important to me and Sarah too, as we were looking at houses, and we just kind of lucked into ours. It was on the market. It was in our price range. It had everything that we wanted, and it was just kind of a home run, no-brainer type thing. But we find ourselves in the kitchen a lot, and we just had that same conversation that you guys had about, well, we could go get takeout or we could go sit in the restaurant now, but I don't really feel like doing that anymore. I'd rather just keep making my own food and just kind of hang out here, which I feel kind of bad because that's money out of our local businesses' pockets. But I do feel like I'll be there drinking whiskey soon anyway, so I'll for sure make up for that revenue loss that they're missing out on us tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like it actually, like as we're spending more and more time at home, like we did kind of make it a point to we've got kind of a, we'll say, similar taste in restaurants that we'd like to go to. So we started making it a point to maybe like once a week just ordering from those places and going and picking it up or whatever. So
yeah,
not necessarily because we were like against, we were fully against cooking or didn't want to spend the time in the kitchen, but it was more of like a, support these places that we've frequented a lot here over the last several years. So, they've been good to us. So, help them out when they need it is almost, more the outlook instead of just like, screw it, we're going out to eat. We're going to, drop $75 on food and drinks and who knows what else. So
right.
It's nice. And it's a lot easier and also eating at home. It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, it is. You'd be surprised. I mean, yeah, sure, you spend a lot of money on groceries. Like we're getting groceries on a weekly basis now, which is okay. Like we have what we need, but we're spending a lot of money on groceries. But if you think about how much money you would be spending otherwise, it's really not that much.
No, like for me, for a while, it was like you're familiar with Beartooth.
Yes.
Not the theater, the grill side.
Yes.
But like I was there was a period of time. I was there probably like 3 or 4 times a week. Thankfully I lived in a place that was quite cheap. So I had the sort of semi-disposable income to spend a whole crap load of money in a restaurant. But I feel like I probably single-handedly like paid their bartender's salary for probably like a year and a half.
That's probably what Reed and I did at Twin Dragon, and you too. You were involved with that. Twin Dragon is this Mongolian barbecue in Anchorage that was literally a block from my apartment in college. So it was our go-to. It was a Mongolian barbecue, plus they had Chinese food on the buffet. Oh my goodness, we could spend hours there. And it got to the point where we had a system of how to load your bowl, plus then get the Chinese buffet, and then get back to your bowl in time to pick it up off the grill. It was
that's the way to do it.
We had it down to a science. which is great until you start thinking about how much money we spent in that place and how terrible that food probably was for us.
Yeah, but it could have been worse. At least it's an all-you-can-eat place. You pay one thing, and it's as much as you want to eat. Kind of a double-edged sword, I guess. But
Touche, touche.
um,
So, with this house buying process, I know it's tough to buy homes in some places because the prices just get outrageously high. What was the market like in Anchorage when you were looking at your house, and what was that process like for you?
Alaska housing prices in general are on the higher end. Like it's not, not like you'll find in like Seattle or, like one of those big metro areas, but what you get for the amount that you pay, it like your dollar doesn't go very far really. But I don't know, like, so I paid a little under, 200,000 for this place. It's about 1,000 square feet. It's a 2-level townhouse. I've got like a 1-car garage, and I've got a small backyard that's fenced in. So I thought when I was looking, like, and I've been looking on on Zillow and those other sites for years, just kind of keeping an eye out, not like seriously looking, but just seeing what's out there and what I could afford. So I had a kind of a checklist of things that I wanted, or things that I needed and things that I wanted. Like,
Yeah.
so like. And I thought that I would be able to afford, like, and especially like as I kept living in like a condo or in an apartment and stuff, like I started realizing more and more like what was going to be more and more essential. And like living in Alaska, I had so much outdoor gear, like bikes and camping gear, and I got a snow machine or snowmobile to you
No,
lower
snow
48ers.
machine. It's snow machine. Let the record state it's fucking snow machine. Snow machine.
Exactly. That's the
Continue.
conviction I want right there. It's so like you got all these toys, all this outdoor gear, because really, if you don't enjoy that stuff, there's no real point in living up here. So I just need space. So for a while, I was like, well, I could do without a garage. Man, if I could have a fenced-in backyard, that'd be awesome. Like have a place to grill, have people over, whatever. But I'm like, I could just get like a rental unit or a storage unit or something for my outdoor stuff, or like maybe like an extra bedroom or something I can store all that in. And then the farther and further I got through into like the house buying process, and especially as I was starting to take stock of the stuff that I had crammed into my old then current apartment, I'm like, no, like garage, I have to have a garage, like not to park in, like,
Yeah.
no, the hell with that. Like I need to store all my shit. And I was, as I was looking, I ran across this place that I ultimately ended up buying, and it checked all the boxes. Like it had, like we talked about earlier, it had the nice kitchen, a pretty open floor plan, like in terms of like living room, dining room, dining area kind of thing. It had multiple bed. It had essentially 2 bedrooms. It had washer and dryer in it. It had a garage and a backyard. So like it just kind of like checked all those things. It was maybe a little higher than I was really looking to spend, but it was still one of those that was like within reach. And I haven't regretted it for a second. This place has been one of the best. Buying this place has been like probably the best decision I've made in a very long time. And, in terms of the buying process, mine was actually really smooth. Like I wasn't moving I wasn't trying to sell a house, which, makes it easier to like you're not juggling 2 different processes. But one of my now I consider him a pretty good buddy. He's a realtor, and I've just been kind of talking. I like bought him a beer and it's like, can we talk about real estate for a little bit? So went and grabbed a beer, and he kind of talked me through the process of like what would happen, the different steps, and really just kind of like a really like no pressure like situation, because he makes his living off commission,
Right.
right, off of what he sells and how much and everything. And I'm always kind of like leery about, I'll say, going into business with friends. And I kind of consider this in there, like just in terms of like, running a business can be stressful, can be hard. And entering into these agreements, like this massive house decision, like to me, like $200,000 is a lot of money. Like
Fuck
it's a
yeah,
big commitment and something I never done before. But like, I would recommend to like anybody going through that process to like, find, before you do anything, like find a realtor that you trust,
Yes.
and one that you get along with, because I mean, you're going to be talking to them a lot. Like this guy that I had, he was so good about breaking down every step and answering all like the little small stupid questions that I had because I just never having done this before. And then, I'd be sending him properties at like just like texting him at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and he's like, he's probably just like playing video games or something, or just like watching TV, and he just shoots me a text, and he'd start like looking into it when he was there and sending me texts and answering my questions like really whenever I had them. And I know like it's maybe not like the best like work life balance, but like that responsiveness and that degree of trust and in just his patience with me really like it made for a super smooth process, and it made everything easy. I waited for what I wanted. I was in a good financial place to do it and pull the trigger. So I mean, it was just like the stars aligned, and it was, I don't know, it's been fantastic, and especially being in this place, without roommates, having my own space and having it like be like a bigger space than I was in before. Going through all the quarantine stuff. I don't know if I would have survived in the other place, to be totally honest with you. Like
Yeah.
having done it in this, like made it so much easier and so much nicer. I don't know, life changing. That might sound kind of dumb and obvious, but
No, man.
but it's my first place, and it's something I'm proud of.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're taking care of it like it is your own. You're caring for it. You're nurturing it. You're making it your own. Like that's a cool step in your life, and it's cool being able to have that space. It's that step in your life where you're like, okay, I'm climbing the ladder now. I've bought my own home. I'm starting to get my shit together. Do you kind of feel like you're getting your shit together?
This is the most I felt I've had my shit together ever. And like, I don't think it's my shit's always, I feel like my shit's always been mostly together, but there's always just certain things that were missing or not quite right or whatever. I mean, it's a process. Like I've had a lot of good happen, and I've had, just maybe slightly less bad happen, like over the last several years, over the last maybe 3, 4, 5 years. So, it's one of those like, just like I don't know if it's like fate or just like a trust the process kind of thing. Or, I mean, I've really adopted a mindset that's like, like even though like crappy things might be happening, it's like, you just have to trust that like, if you kind of like, if you stay the course and try to stay positive, like things are going to be okay.
Yep.
So like, and maybe this is a conversation for a different podcast or something, but like, so like 4 years ago, my mom got sick, with she had was diagnosed with brain cancer. So, I mean, that was really like the starting point for all of these changes that have taken place. And, like we've, in terms of like, I had to endure a lot, but also like I changed careers, and that career put me in a much better place mentally and financially. Like there's, than what I was doing before. It gave me the freedom to start to travel, spend more time with the family and everything. And then, ultimately like, this is the best place that I have worked so far. So I'm much happier there. I'm good with where I'm at professionally. And then, the personal life has gotten slow. It's been a process, but it's gotten slowly better. Like, it got me into a position where I could buy a house. I'm in a good and healthy relationship that's, I don't know, it's going very well. Like, so hopefully it keeps on like that. Like, I'm slowly like, just we talked about earlier, like changing a lot of my habits. So like, gradually getting healthier and, feeling good about that. So like, this is really the first time in a really long time that like, I'm just kind of content with where things are at, how things are going. Like there's certainly been hard times and struggles, but like, it's really paid off. And I think, it's changed kind of how I operate and probably the person that I am. But, everything has, for every like kind of valley that I've hit, like, you just kind of start climbing again and, make it higher than you had before. I don't know if it's kind of cliche sounding, I guess, but
No.
but I mean, that's just kind of the process and how it's worked out. And I'm very thankful for it.
That's awesome, man. That's cool to hear. Out of a lot of my friends, you have always been the one who has had their shit mostly together for a long time. And to hear that it's even gotten better since then is really cool. Like you're in that good spot, in a good job, in a good house, in a good relationship. Like it's Josh time now. And
Yeah, it's just one of those. It just gives me faith that like things, there'll be struggles, in the future, no doubt. But like honestly, it's like, some people go like approach life and approach everything with like, yeah, it could be worse. But I'm like, you know what, like I truly I have faith that things can always keep getting better.
oh,
And
for
like,
sure.
and not that it's bad now, but it's like, you know what, it's like I see like where I was at 10 years ago, when we were in college. It's been almost 10 years since I graduated college. Like,
Yeah.
and just how different and how much, like, I didn't think my life was bad then, but like it is so much better now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just hard to believe. So and it's fantastic. I'm very happy with how everything has turned out. And, maybe I'm just lucky, but I don't know, just seems like everything kind of happens for a reason. And sometimes it's hard to see those reasons, but eventually things seem to work out.
And you've worked your ass off in between that too. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. And I'm glad that we're able to do these types of things because, we don't get to see each other very often, and being able to hear some of those things and being able to hear kind of your mindset of always looking for the positive in things. I'm the same way. I have to find the positive. If I don't, I'm just going to be miserable. And who wants to go through life being miserable like that? I can't do it.
Yeah, me either. I don't know. To me, there's no point in that mindset. Sometimes things suck and it's hard to stay positive. And I certainly have my times where I'm kind of, Eeyore negative kind of thing.
Right.
But ultimately I, bounce back from it, rebound, or work my ass off to make sure that things don't get that shitty again. So it's probably didn't really think about all that, at least a good portion of this year, until we started talking about it. But but I mean, it is true.
Well, that's good, man. That's what this podcast is for. It's to open your mind. It's going to be a little bit cathartic. Get those feelings out, process those feelings. We have lots to save. We have lots to cover for our next episode. And I think we will be able to do another one, at least 5 or 6 with the stories that we have. Is there anything else that it's kind of top of your mind before we sign off of this one?
No, man. I think we covered a lot of ground, and like you said, there's still a lot more ground we could cover. That's for sure. I'm glad Reed has covered a lot more of the older stories that I'm sure he's going to tell a lot better than me. But no, it's been really cool. I'm really impressed. I really impressed with how these episodes have been turning out. Like you're obviously not new to interviewing and whatnot, but it's I worked in radio for the better part of a decade, so I know working with audio and doing this kind of stuff it takes some practice. It takes some time.
Oh, yeah.
And, especially being on the production and interviewing side, but you're doing awesome. I've really enjoyed it.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. I'm still learning. I mean, I'm hoping to get to a point where these episodes take me 15 minutes to edit, but right now I don't see that ever happening just because there's so much to learn.
Get to that point.
Yeah, there's so much to learn and still a rookie. So I just, I appreciate you listening and appreciate the kind words, man. And thanks for hopping on today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I hope it turns out interesting in the end.
Oh, well, of course it will.
Perfect.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Right on, man.
All right.
Talk to you later.